Hello, welcome to our little video. My name is Gary Duffield, and as most of you will know, I look after our vendor relationships, including Microsoft. I'm here today with Sue Webb.
Morning.
Morning, Sue. So we've been working on a little project along with Mark Welsh around SharePoint. Sue is our principal practitioner for business analysis, although she's been helping me with this particular project. Sue, a little bit about yourself in terms of your role with SharePoint.
So I'm a Microsoft certified trainer in the SQL space, but I teach the SharePoint end user courses for DDLS here in Perth, and have been doing so for about 9 years, something like that. So I come from an application training background, so it made sense for me to pick up the SharePoint end user courses. It also fits in very nicely with SQL. So that's sort of how I got involved with the project and with the rollout of the new versions of the product.
And that's predominantly been around SharePoint end user.
Yeah, so the SharePoint, the stuff that the farm admins need to know, all the back-end stuff, all the administration and development and design and things, is covered very nicely by the Microsoft official curriculum, but what the end users need to know was always sort of left out of that piece of the puzzle. And so we've traditionally used third-party vendors to get content for the end user training. We've gone through a few vendors over the years, and in 2013, through yourself, we found a very high quality product from a company from the UK called Combined Knowledge, and we've been delivering their end user courses for about 3 years, and we've just migrating now to the newer versions of the product.
Yeah, I think there's a point to note there, Sue, which is we've always done the technical stuff, which is Microsoft official curriculum. We know it, we get the big thick manuals, although of course it's all online now. There tend to be 5-day training events, and that's one very distinct audience. The other audience, as Sue just alluded to, are the people who actually use the product and the people who are actually creating some of the content, so perhaps the HR department, the individual who's updating their page. That's meant a couple of things. One is that we've had this distinct connection or disconnection between the two, particularly when it comes to SATV vouchers, and as we'll see in a moment or two, there's some significant changes there. But what I'd like to do, I'd just like to invite Sue to talk a little bit more about the actual curriculum in terms of the audiences, so we get a good understanding of what we have in the end user SharePoint space.
So with the new courses that are coming online now and that are currently being scheduled across the country, we've got 2 flavours of SharePoint. There's SharePoint 2016, which is the on-premises stuff, and then there's SharePoint Online. But we've also got 2 audiences. We've got the entry-level end user, literally referred to as an end user or an information worker, somebody who just needs to do their daily job and be able to upload documents and find their way around and use the search feature and that sort of thing. And that's regardless of whether their company is using SharePoint Online or SharePoint on-premises. Then we have the power users. So the power users are people who are business users. They're not IT professionals. These are not the farm admins. These are your sales manager or your finance analyst, somebody who is a core person in their business unit and understands the content and has been charged with looking after the responsibility for their team site. So that the power users are the people who actually create the site. So from SharePoint, from an end user perspective, there's a lot of decentralized development and administration. A lot of stuff is not done by IT, it's done by the people in the business who are the subject matter experts, who are the content experts, rather than them having to develop content, send it to IT, wait for IT to convert it into the right format.
In my experience, when SharePoint doesn't work, it's because it's been given to IT as a task.
Yeah, generally.
And they've created. So let's say we're re-engineering Connect. I think everybody's familiar with Connect. We are doing that as a project, by the way. Clearly, in order to do that, we need a business analyst, which is Sue in this particular case. We need the techie guys to actually ensure the back-end services are okay. We need everybody who's watching this now to understand fundamentally how to use sort of that kind of system, assuming it's going to be based on SharePoint, which is highly likely. And then we need a different level of kind of education for somebody, let's say, such as Dion, who will be responsible for the HR component upon that site. So he might be considered a power user, whereas the rest of us are merely consumers. Now, I hinted at an SATV option. I think we're being a little bit clever here, insofar as we're copying exactly what Combined Knowledge do in the UK. They've had tremendous success with this, but it opens up a fantastic opportunity for us to use SATVs for the SharePoint end user training. Sue and Mark Welsh have done a great job. They're the architects of this solution. So, Sue, a little bit of detail on that, please.
Yeah, so it was always a sticking point with the end user courses that we had a lot of customers. I believe we lost a lot of business because we weren't able to accept SATVs because it wasn't Microsoft courseware. The courseware didn't come from Microsoft. But then we were able to find a workaround to that where we actually value add to the combined knowledge material, which is very high quality in what we use in the classroom and what the students get a digital copy of now. Used to be a big thick blue book, but now it's digital, which is much nicer for the environment. But they also get Microsoft curriculum. It's not mock, it's not official curriculum, it comes from the courseware library. But it allows us to use SATVs. So for some of the courses they will get similar material, so they'll have a different perspective of site administration, for instance. And some of them it's more complementary material. So we're value adding and at the same time giving them better payment options. And we've seen that work very successfully in Perth. We've had some very good numbers on our SharePoint 2013 end user courses. In fact, the last 2 courses that I taught were all SATV.
And you should see that in the accompanying PowerPoint deck that's included with this. So to summarise what Sue's just said, we can now include or take SATV vouchers for those courses. They get the combined knowledge content, which is digital. They also get some Microsoft Community courseware, which allows us to take SATV vouchers. We're doing that for everybody who attends these courses just to make the administration easier. Otherwise, we might have 3 people on a course who are getting that manual, 4 people who are not. It is just a recipe for disaster. So it is a value add. It's not like we're giving them something they're never going to use. There's a little bit of extra cost for us, but the reality is, we can now use SATV vouchers, and we believe there's a lot of people keen to actually do this, particularly in light of some changes to SharePoint. We've seen demand that we've not been able to satisfy for the cloud version or the version that's hosted by Office 365, for example. So any comments on that?
Yeah, so one of the things that's a bit of a point of confusion is what is this thing that everybody's referring to called SharePoint Online, because in a lot of people's minds, we've always accessed SharePoint Online because you use a web browser. The difference is really where SharePoint is hosted and who actually does the farm administration of it. So if a client is referring to their SharePoint environment as, say, SharePoint 2013 or SharePoint 2016, then that's what we would refer to as an on-prem or on-premises instance of SharePoint. So that means they have SharePoint installed on their infrastructure and they do all the farm administration themselves. With SharePoint Online, that is the cloud version from Microsoft. So it's software as a service from Microsoft. Clients would pay a subscription fee for it rather than licensing, and Microsoft themselves host all of the software in their data centres, and the Microsoft do most of the farm administration. So there's a bit of an explanation of that.
Does that mean there are 2 courses? There's an on-premise version and there's a SharePoint Online version?
The end users, there's just the one version of the course. So there's a 1-day course for end users who just need to know.
And that's a catch-all. We don't care where SharePoint is, in the cloud, in-premise.
For that, it doesn't really matter. Okay. For power users, there's 2 different versions of the power users course. And the power user course is a 4-day course. So power users, so there's a SharePoint 2016 power user course and there's a SharePoint Online power user course. We may find over time that there's enough overlap between them that we can drop one of the versions and run just the other version, explaining differences to people who have a different environment.
So it's an important question in the sales environment. Is it the on-premise version or the online version that you're interested in?
Yeah.
Then feed through to sales. If somebody on the online version ended up on the on-premise version, is that a write-off?
No, not at all. They would still get a significant amount of... So there is a lot of overlap, lots and lots of overlap, to the point where the instructors are being advised to prep them both at the same time. And my plan when I run it will be, if I'm running an online course, to have an on-premises instance in the classroom so that I can show them the difference, and vice versa.
That's a good idea.
So I always plan to actually have both available anyway. It just will be, the difference is which version the student uses.
Yeah.
But SharePoint, there's always a little bit of a disconnect between what they get in the classroom and what they get at work, because their environment looks completely different to ours. Yeah. So they always have to take what they learn in the classroom back and adapt it and adopt it. So if they were to do the on-premises version and they had online, it's just a little bit more of adaptation and adoption that they need to do.
But to start with, we're going to run both versions.
We're going to start with running both.
I think that makes sense.
My gut feel is that the online is going to be significantly more popular.
And we're seeing demand for that already.
The demand for that, there doesn't seem to be a lot of organisations who are moving from SharePoint 2013 to SharePoint 2016 on premises. If they're moving online. That's what we're seeing here in Perth. That's our
seems to be that the hype about the cloud is
Well,
actually kind of true.
It's hyped for a reason. There are a lot of business benefits
You're right.
to the cloud services, and it's the old argument that, well, it's our data and we don't know where it is, has gone now that there's enough data centres in Australia that all of the data can be kept in Australia, so they can meet all the sovereignty
I think it's
rules.
quite telling. There's SharePoint Server 2016, which is a version you buy, and SharePoint Online, which updates kind of in the background almost, so it doesn't have a version number, because the version today will be very different from the version tomorrow potentially, or in 6 months, or in 12 months, or in 5 years.
And a lot of organisations are also going to Office 365. We're seeing the adoption of Office 365 ramp up massively in the last 18 months. And those two things often go hand in hand. Businesses will often move to Office 365 and SharePoint Online at the same time.
So I guess now we have a solution for those who are adopting in the cloud, those who are adopting 2016 on-premise. There's an opportunity to contact anybody who's done a SharePoint course ever, really, to start looking at these training courses. And I think if I was to set next actions, it would be just have a look at the PowerPoint deck, which accompanies this video, check out the course overviews on our website, talk to your customers, and feedback to me, and I'll involve Sue and Mark Walsh and some of our other trainers. We're due to get a principal technologist for SharePoint soon. I'd love to get those people involved as we take this product further, as we take the training that we offer further, and we go and satisfy the needs of our customers. Any final comments, Sue?
No, I'm just excited about it. I'm looking forward to the first delivery. So,
in which case, it's goodbye from her.
Goodbye.
And it's goodbye from me. Like the two Ronnies.
Absolutely. I actually think that went better than the first two.
Yeah, probably. Oh, and it's still flashing, which is really